Second Letter by Albert Camus. I have already written you once, and I did so with a tone of certainty. After 5 years of separation, I told you why we were the stronger, because of the detour that took us out of our way to seek our justification. Because of the delay occasioned by worry about our rights, because of the crazy insistence of ours on reconciling everything that we loved. But it is worth repeating. As I have already told you, we paid dearly for that detour. Rather than running the risk of injustice, we preferred disorder. But at the same time, that very detour constitutes our strength today, and as a result, we are within sight of victory. Yes, I have already told you all that in a tone of certainty, as fast as I could write and without erasing a word. But I have had time to think about it. Night is a time for meditation. For 3 years we have brought night to our towns and to our hearts. For 3 years we have been developing in the dark the thought which now emerges fully armed to face you. Now I can speak to you of the intelligence, for the certainty we now feel is a certainty in which we see clearly and everything stands out sharp and clear, in which the intelligence gives its blessing to courage. And you who used to speak flippantly of the intelligence are greatly surprised. I suppose to see it return from the shadow of death and suddenly decide to play its role in history. This is where I want to turn back toward you. As I shall tell you later on, the mere fact that the heart is certain does not make us the more cheerful. This alone gives us a meaning to everything I am writing you. But first, I want to square everything again with you, with your memory and our friendship. While I still can do so, I want to do for our friendship the only thing one can do for a friendship about to end. I want to make it explicit. I have already answered the remark, you don't love your country, that you used to hurl at me and that I still remember vividly. Today I merely want to answer your impatient smile whenever you heard the word intelligence. In all her intelligences, you told me. France repudiates herself. Some of your intellectuals prefer despair to their country. Others, the pursuit of an improbable truth. We put Germany before truth and beyond despair. Apparently that was true, but as I have already told you, if at times we seem to prefer justice to our country, this is because we simply wanted to love our country in justice, as we wanted to love her in truth and in hope. This is what separated us from you. We made demands. You were satisfied to serve the power of your nation, and we dreamed of giving ours her truth. It was enough for you to serve the politics of reality, whereas, in our wildest aberrations, we still had a vague conception of the politics of honor, which we recognize today. When I say we, I am not speaking of our rulers, but a ruler hardly matters. At this point, I see you smile as of old. You always distrusted words. So did I. But I used to distrust myself even more. You used to try to urge me along the path you yourself had taken, where intelligence is ashamed of intelligence. Even then I couldn't follow you, but today my answers would be more assured. What is truth, you used to ask? To be sure, but at least we know what falsehood is. That is just what you have taught us. What is spirit? We know its contrary, which is murder. What is man? There I stop you. For we know man is the force which ultimately cancels all tyrants and gods. He is the force of evidence. Human evidence is what we must preserve, and our certainty at present comes from the fact that its fate and our country's fate are linked together. If nothing had any meaning, you would be right, but there is something that still has a meaning. It would be impossible for me to repeat to you too often that this is where we part company. We had formed an idea of our country that put her in her proper place amid other great concepts. Friendship, mankind, happiness, our desire for justice. This led us to be severe with her. But in the long run, we were the ones who were right. We didn't bring her any slaves, and we debased nothing for her sake. We waited patiently until we saw clearly. And in poverty and suffering, we had the joy of fighting at the same time for all we loved. You, on the other hand, are fighting against everything in man that does not belong to the mother country. Your sacrifices are inconsequential because your hierarchy is not the right one, and because your values have no place. The heart is not all you betray. The intelligence takes its revenge. You have not paid the price it asks, not made the heavy contribution intelligence must pay to lucidity. From the depth of defeat, I can tell you that is your downfall. Let me tell you this story. Before dawn, from a prison I know, somewhere in France, a truck driven by armed soldiers is taking 11 Frenchmen to the cemetery where you are to shoot them. Out of the 11, 5 or 6 have really done something. A tract, a few meetings, something that showed the refusal to submit. The 5 or 6 sitting motionless inside the truck are filled with fear. But if I may say so, it is an ordinary fear. The kind that grips every man facing the unknown. A fear that is incompatible with courage. The others have done nothing. This hour is harder for them because they are dying by mistake or as victims of a kind of indifference. Among them is a child of 16. You know the faces of our adolescents. I don't want to talk about them. The boy is dominated by fear. He gives in to it shamelessly. Don't smile scornfully. His teeth are shattering. But you have placed beside him a chaplain whose task is to alleviate somewhat the agonizing hour of waiting. I believe I can say that for men who are about to be killed, a conversation about a future life is of no avail. It is too hard to believe that the lime pit is not the end of all. The prisoners in the truck are silent. The chaplain turns toward the child huddled in his corner. He will understand better, the child answers, clings to the chaplain's voice, and hope returns. In the mutest of horrors, sometimes it is enough for a man to speak. Perhaps he is going to fix everything. I haven't done anything, says the child. Yes, says the chaplain. But that's not the question now. You must get ready to die properly. It can be possible that no one understands me. I am your friend, and I perhaps understand you. But it is late. I shall be with you, and the good Lord will be too. You'll see how easy it is. The child turns his head away. The chaplain speaks of God. Does the child believe in him? Yes, he believes. Hence he knows that nothing is as important as the peace awaiting him. But that very peace is what frightens the child. I am your friend, the chaplain repeats. The others are silent. He must think of them. The chaplain leans toward the silent group, turning his back on the child for a moment. The truck is advancing slowly with a sucking sound over the road, which is damp with dew. Imagine the gray hour, the early morning smell of men. The invisible countryside suggested by sounds of chains being harnessed or the cry of a bird. The child leans against the canvas covering, which gives a little. He notices a narrow space between it and the truck body. He could jump if he wanted. The chaplain has his back turned, and up front the soldiers are intent on finding their way in the dark. The boy doesn't stop to think. He tears the canvas loose, slips into the opening, and jumps. His fall is hardly heard, the sound of running on the road, then nothing more. He is in the fields, where his steps can't be heard, but the flapping of the canvas, the sharp, damp morning air penetrating the truck, make the chaplain and the prisoners turn around. For a second, the priest stares at those men looking at him in silence. A second in which the man of God must decide whether he is on the side of the executioners or on the side of the martyrs in keeping with his vocation. But he has already knocked on the partition separating him from his comrades. Achtung! The alarm is given. Two soldiers leap into the truck and point their guns at the prisoners. Two others leap to the ground and start running across the fields. The chaplain, a few paces from the truck standing on the asphalt, tries to see them through the fog. In the truck, the men can only listen to the sounds of the chase, the muffled exclamations, a shot, silence. Then the sound of voices again coming nearer. Finally, a hollow stamping of feet. The child is brought back. He wasn't hit, but he stopped surrounded in that enemy fog. Suddenly without courage, forsaken by himself. He is carried rather than led by his guards. He has been beaten somewhat, but not much. The most important lies ahead. He doesn't look at the chaplain or anyone else. The priest has climbed up beside the driver. An armed soldier has taken his place in the truck. Thrown into one of the corners, the child doesn't cry. Between the canvas and the floor, he watches the road slip away again and sees in its surface a reflection of the dawn. I am sure you can very well imagine the rest, but it is important for you to know who told me this story. It was a French priest, he said to me. I am ashamed for that man. I am pleased to think that no French priest would have been willing to make his God abet murder. That was true. The chaplain simply felt as you do. It seemed natural to him to make even his fate serve his country. Even the gods are mobilized in your country. They are on your side, as you say, but only as a result of coercion. You no longer distinguish anything. You are nothing but a single impulse. And now you are fighting with the resources of blind anger, with your mind on weapons and feats of arms rather than on ideas, stubbornly confusing every issue and following your obsession. We, on the other hand, started from the intelligence and its hesitations. We were powerless against wrath. But now our detour is finished. It took only a dead child for us to add wrath to intelligence. And now we are two against one. I want to speak to you of wrath. Remember when I expressed amazement at the outburst of one of your superiors? You said to me, "That too is good, but you don't understand. There is a virtue the French lack, anger." No, that's not it. But the French are difficult on the subject of virtues. They don't assume them unless they have to. This gives the wrath the silence and strength you are just beginning to feel. And it is with that sort of wrath, the only kind I recognize in myself, that I am going to end this letter. For as I told you, certainty is not gaiety of heart. We know what we lost on that long detour. We know the price we are paying for the bitter joy of fighting in agreement with ourselves. And because we have a keen sense of the irreparable, there is as much bitterness as confidence in our struggle. The war didn't satisfy us. We had not yet assembled our reasons for fighting. It is civil war, the obstinate, collective struggle, the unrecorded sacrifice that our people chose. This war is the one they chose for themselves instead of accepting it from idiotic or cowardly governments. A war in which they recognize themselves and are fighting for a certain idea they have formed of themselves. But this luxury they permitted themselves cost them a dreadful price. In this regard, my people deserve more credit than yours. For the best of their sons are the ones who are fallen. That is my cruelest thought. In the derision of war, there is the benefit of derision. Death strikes everywhere and at random. In the war we are fighting, courage steps up and volunteers, and every day you are shooting down our purest spirits. For your ingenuousness is not without foresight. You are never known what to select, but you know what to destroy. You have never known what to select, but you know what to destroy. And we who call ourselves defenders of the spirit know nevertheless that the spirit can die when the force crushing it is great enough. But you have faith in another force, in raining bullets on those silent faces, already turned away from this world. You think you are this figure in the face of our truth, but you are forgetting the obstinacy that makes France fight against time. That hopeless hope is what sustains us in difficult moments. Our comrades will be more patient than the executioners and more numerous than the bullets. As you see, the French are capable of wrath. December 1943. George Orwell. I'm sorry, Albert Camus, not George Orwell. Thank you.